Welcome back to On Another Note. This is season 6. This is episode 5, and we have got a very handsome young man with us today and a beautiful doctor. You'll notice some members are missing. It's been a busy week for us. But before we get into that, how is everyone doing?
Great. I'm on
Great.
Doing good.
All the liquor in the background. Kevin, you look like you're doing well.
Not a tasty one.
So how has things been, Bree? Because this is probably a very odd summer for you as a teacher. I know teachers' summers are usually filled with partial teaching and then some fun. How has summer been so far for you?
Well, I'm enjoying doing nothing right now. I have so much time on my hands. I've started watching a series on Netflix that I'm glued to the TV, but I tend to come on and off because I get headaches when I watch TV too long. I have nothing really major to do. So I'm just going to the park with my daughter, staying at home, watching TV, and I'm enjoying it.
Good. Doc, I'm
Sounds
sure
good.
for you, it feels like you don't know when summer began because you've been going since COVID-19 and still going. So what does it feel like summer for you, or how is life now? Are you readjusting
It
to
does not feel like summer. The only thing that feels like summer is that my birthday is coming up. So
okay.
other
Okay.
than that, I've been going since COVID. I think actually I'm back in my office now. So I'm back in my private practice now, and it's getting busy. I think a lot of people are very aware of like health and how important it is. And we try to build that brand, where we are in terms of like trying to promote wellness overall, not just treating you when you're sick, but trying to make sure that you're well for everything. And even though we don't have that much active COVID cases in the territory, I think a lot of people are very much aware that when borders reopen and all those things, these things are going to be threats. So we have to do what we can to really maximize our wellness as it is right now.
Yeah, that's it. But I can see how that can be true. I'm sure you're seeing a combination of physical concerns as well as some emotional concerns.
Yes. I mean, again, the business is two parts. So I don't necessarily deal with the emotional, but being a general practitioner and, being in the environment, I'm able to pick up when people are having significant emotional issues and when it's affecting them. So then I will be able to refer accordingly. But you're quite right. It's a lot of physical manifestations of emotional issues, and people don't realize the connection. So that's where, I would come in to kind of help them see where that's connected, and then get them the proper treatment that they need.
Wow. Kevin, I mean, you are running a business that has been so successful over the last few years, and you came to an abrupt stop. And I don't know if you skipped a beat after things started to lighten up a little bit. How is it like from a business perspective, with business starting to pick up, with people starting to kind of get back to some semblance of life? And do you feel that there is hope for the industry that you're in?
Yeah, we took a big hit because so much of our business relies so much on tourists coming in. So in terms of like provisioning charters and hotels and stuff like that. I mean, just that alone, that's like close to like $1 million hit in that area alone. So just you're not gonna make $1 million up with the borders being closed. But I mean, for the most part, every month we have seen a good trend. So which means people are drinking, which for me that's good. 'Cause I'm sure there's some stuff people that need to drink, and there's some happy people that need to drink. But I
I'm a
mean, in
happy
all,
person that needs to drink on my birthday, Kevin.
exactly. But I mean, for the most part, um, there's still a lot of bright side. But I mean, health is more important than anything right now. And all of our staff is still employed, so everyone is still happy, and we're doing what we can to make sure that we keep all our employees still with us because they have been the key part to why we're successful. So for us to turn our backs on them, no, just to cut a little costs and make these massive profits, it's just not in the DNA of this company. So we see hope.
I love
We
hearing
feel
that.
confident.
Yeah.
I love hearing that. I know that has to be a difficult decision from a management perspective.
Oh,
But I think this speaks to, one of the recent arguments in our community. And I think it speaks to it because sometimes when you have persons who are embedded and committed in a community and crisis happens in a community, you understand what a business decision can do and you understand what a human decision can do. So it's really good to hear you making some human decisions, even though it affects bottom line in the long run. You can always make up the bottom line, but you can never make back up the impact of families losing income, of people becoming depressed because situations have changed. So I think that's awesome, Kevin. I know it has to be hard sitting in your seat, seriously. But I think that is awesome.
yes, thank you.
Yeah, I wanted to ask how everyone was doing as it relates to the change in your life, because for me, it doesn't feel like summer, right? Every summer, my house is empty with kids and my husband and I are pretending like we're single parent free people and
people.
children free people, we're single from kids for the entire summer. And it doesn't kind of feel like summer because it just feels like life is continuing. So I guess I've become so accustomed to knowing when it was summer because the kids would take a vacation to visit my mom, that this year I'm like, oh, is it August? Oh, right. So for me, it's just a little bit weird in that regard because I hadn't appreciated how I had mentally become accustomed to physical changes in my life to activate times and seasons. So that has been interesting. And then I've also been completely enjoying all the Facebook posts about all the different positive things I'm seeing that has come out of COVID-19 and the impacts of it. We hear a lot about the negative things. We hear a lot of people griping and complaining about different factors, whether borders opening back up or changes that are happening from a policy level. But one of the big things that I find is there's a lot of entrepreneurship that is forced because people are either have lost their jobs or they need to rethink their business. So I'm sure if Kevin can figure out a way to electronically have a drink, then a lot of us are okay for the next pandemic or the next lockdown. And I find, I know, Doc, you guys have changed your services to include, what is it called? Telemedicine? Telemedicine services. The teachers have already become tele-teaching teachers, so they're already virtually teaching. And soon Kevin will be shipping to all of our houses little packets of mimosa for mornings and little packets of evening drinks to pair with a suggested dinner. You know what I mean? Yes. So things are changing. And if you still let either Kevin, I'm gonna need 10%.
Mm-hmm.
I
can help you come up with the dinner suggestions, Kevin.
But I know things are changing. That's going to be 20% now because Charlene's.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. Love you, Kat.
Oh gosh, but I've seen a lot of positive changes. So I'm not much of a gardener, but to be fair, I've been seeing a lot of gardening happening everywhere. And I'm trying, right? So y'all don't judge me, okay? I am doing my very best, okay? But apparently these things need water and love, and it's like kids
every day
who don't talk back, right. And I should be happy because they don't talk back. But I don't know. It's like I already have to feed 2 people. Why I gotta come out here and feed y'all? So it's not going well for me with the gardening part of it.
Honestly, I started gardening before the whole COVID thing on lockdown because I'm really looking at how supply chains and food chains and everything going, trying to be like a little bit organic and just trying to contribute back to this to the environment because when you grow plants, it contributes to the atmosphere and everything. But yeah, I have had my struggles. I had my plants in a certain area, like they were under some other bushes, and then I looked the other day, Angela, and there were like the weeds actually growing up into my plant pots. So I was like, I'm so confused.
At least you know which ones are weeds. I don't even know the difference.
Is it
Okay.
indoor or outdoor gardening you're doing?
It's outdoor, but it's in pots because I live in an apartment, so I'm not trying to like dig up the people's yard and plant my garden. So I have them in pots, but I had them in a certain area. I had them like under bushes because it was like soil underneath there or whatever. And they had these weeds that were just growing from the soil under the bushes up into my plant pots. So I had to actually move them back onto some concrete now. Say, y'all wish me luck because it'd be hot. It is hot and my plants are suffering.
I
Oh,
like gardening, but I don't like snakes, so I stay away from gardening.
Rebuke
Oh.
you. Did he have to say snakes?
It didn't work for me. The plant died, and I didn't know what I did wrong. So I was like, okay, probably this is not for me.
Well, I've considered myself contributing to the local farming economy because every week I have to buy new plants. So I am giving my bit of contribution.
I find too that COVID has made, at least for me, eat more cooked home meals. Ever since the lockdown, like you cooking more, I got tired of it. I was like, I don't know how people can do this every day, twice a day, 2 times. Like I found myself cooking a lot, and I tried different recipes. I like that part of it. It taught me new things, and now I'm actually cooking more than I was cooking before. So yeah, that's something positive.
That's very true. You're quite right. Because a lot of the restaurants were closed and we were home and kind of had to do for yourself. So, and that would actually contribute to like healthier practices going forward, I think, because we had become so dependent and accustomed to buying everything. I think you're quite right. A lot more people are back in the kitchen and trying new things. So yeah.
Yeah,
I'll definitely like some of the changes I'm seeing. Brandywine, for instance, they now have a freezer ready meal. So you can go into
Yes.
Right Way and you can purchase a to-go meal, just like the ones that you would purchase from Stouffer's or any of your favorite meal line. Pop them microwave meal line and pop it in the oven and have literally a properly fresh BBI cooked meal. It may
Right.
not be a BBI meal, cultural meal, but it was cooked here, and they have figured out a way how to package that. Just to take a little bit of the edge off that Brianna's talking about, because it can get quite loadsome. I cook because I don't have a choice. So it's just a habit in our house. It's breakfast, it's either lunch or dinner depending on the day of the week, but definitely at least twice a day, and something heavy, something big. And two different kinds of foods because I have 2 vegans in my house, and then the rest of us are regular people. So.
Right, exactly.
I've
always cooked in my house, so that wasn't really an issue. The only thing is, like, for the past couple of weeks, we decided to do this slow carb diet, which I absolutely hate. I literally
What
not.
does that mean? What does that entail of?
Slow carb. I think we'd spoken before about doing ketogenic diets. You've heard about keto, where you just like eating lots of meat and vegetables and so it's very similar. The only difference with slow carb is the only source of carbohydrates are beans. So I was like, okay, well, I like beans. I like black beans, red beans, chickpeas. I could do this, but there's no dairy, there's no fruit. So I am doing this. Yeah, I'm doing it as kind of like a last push for my birthday because I had certain goals I wanted to achieve by then. And I have to say it does work. Will I make this a forever thing? Probably not. I miss my protein shakes. Is that crazy? Of all things, I miss my protein shakes most. But it's a really good thing. And I like to do things like this sometimes to just challenge myself because, being in the industry that I'm in and people are always talking about different diets and things that they need to do. I like to kind of try it for myself so I can kind of speak from a place of experience and, knowledge to be able to pass that on to my patients. So slow carb, it works, but oh my goodness, especially because you cut dairy out, it's literally killing me, the dairy and the fruits. I can do without the pasta, the rice, the potatoes, all those things. We've minimized that from ever since, but those cuts, but sometimes you do what you got to do to get what you want.
I agree.
As soon as they come up with the how to put on weight, one, let me know how that goes, Doc. I'll come to you see if you No, but a lot of these changes are some positive ones. This is the first time since moving back to the BVI that I have consistently seen without a drop off people walking on the streets, exercising,
Yes.
like
A
Yeah.
lot of
everywhere.
Yes. It's kind of funny because, the gyms are still limited. Obviously, gathering places are still limited. So they've put their measures in place in terms of like trying to limit how many people are in the location at one time. But the thing is now we have so many gyms that are opening, where people are able to go. So you have choices. And I really think that that's great. Like I see them, like I'm looking like, oh, I see you guys. I'm so happy to see it too. Like I said, people are becoming a lot more health conscious and, wellness conscious, not just waiting until they get sick to do something. So this is an awesome push that I find that we're having. I think the lockdown kind of made us realize how important outside was. So I think that's a big contributing factor. Bree, I am looking forward to you teachers being outside again.
me too.
I have a question. So does it matter going to gym if you're not eating right now, have a diet? Does it even make sense going to gym?
Because you cannot outrun a bad diet. Like 80% of your health really depends on what you eat, but that does not take away the importance of physical activity. So it really depends on your goals. So like somebody who is trying to lose a set of fat as opposed to somebody who's just trying to recomposition their body, it's completely different, like the things that you would have to do. But at the base of it all, it's diet, because that's how you're fueling everything that you're trying to do. And again, just referring back to what I'm doing now, like I can literally feel the difference in my workouts because I'm not eating that much starch, because I'm not eating that many carbs. Like I could actually feel the difference in my power. I could feel the difference in my lifts. So everything that you do, it actually makes a difference in your performance, going up. And Kev, you were into sports back in the day. And so I'm pretty sure you would have been familiar with having to eat a certain way when you're an athlete. And then, as you come off of being an athlete, you'd have to change again, try to maintain health. But yeah, everything depends on your diet.
Yeah, because that's one of the things I've done. I switched my diet because I was drinking dark liquor, but now I'm drinking gluten free.
Okay.
Wait, what?
Very good.
Go back to that. Wait, no,
Hmm?
we're gonna need. I'm sorry. Can we rewind?
I was drinking that, but now I'm drinking vodka, gluten free vodka, and I feel different.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. Is there?
Is it neat? Are you
Am I
drinking
missing-
neat?
Am I missing something here?
I don't understand.
Well, to be honest, things like beer have gluten. So
Yeah. So the gluten free vodka comes with no hangover. So it's a
ah.
positive.
They've lied to you.
What you
Lied to you.
Drink it then.
like, it's not on your chest. You just I don't know. You see those women having their nice little martinis and stuff like that, and they feel good about their body. That's how I feel. I feel great.
What was that drink? This skinny chick. Isn't there something like that? Like a skinny chick drink or something like that?
I can say that.
Yeah.
This sewage.
The only thing I tell people is that, just be careful with your chasers.
See? I took that from you, Doc.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
no,
That's what I told him, guys. The other part about the gluten-free, I don't know.
Wait, so there's a science to the chaser part of it.
Yeah.
That's
because if you think about it, right? And this is doing some research on looking at sugary beverages, like beverage consumption. When you do a liquor, and what we tend to do is that we're going to water it down with a lot of fruit juices to kind of hide the taste. Now, the thing is with vodka, it's a very light taste that you actually don't really feel it. So you don't need as much chaser when it comes to something like a vodka as opposed to like a hard rum, if you understand what I mean. Because nobody like really takes like rum and just like shoots it, except back home in St. Vincent where we have Sunset, but that's a whole nother story. Yeah, so typically you were trying to water down your drinks. And if you look at drinks like painkillers, and this is not knocking painkillers because there's a time and a place for everything. But if you look at something like a painkiller or a pina colada, they're made with coconut cream. And coconut cream is very heavy in fat and sugar. So if you're drinking something like that, If you're drinking like 4 or 5 of those in a night, man, you have added up a set of calories that you are so not taking into consideration, as opposed to if you were to have like 2 glasses of Moscato. There was a really awesome one that Kevin had introduced me to some time ago. That was a very, very nice Moscato. Anything
Is
with
it the
Moscato.
one with the C? Oh God, what is it?
I can't, Kev, come on, man.
The one
Tara
that
has a
it's
favorite
called
one that comes from you.
like a Diasti. So Moscatos are all about, if you buy a Moscato, always look for the word that says Diasti, because if it doesn't, that's the true form of the actual grape, which is the Muscat grape.
Okay.
Don't see that. It means they added a set of sugar in that wine to make it sweet. So you're trying to get the not so much sugar from Moscato, you look for the label that says Diasti.
Okay.
I like that. Listen, partiers, these are some tips, okay, for your lives.
Yeah.
You guys, you're welcome, people. This is free information for you. I think this was an awesome conversation. I will say that as COVID continues to become a part of our lives, that a lot of the positive changes really outweigh some of the negative effects of the pandemic. And if we just look up a little bit, we'll see that economically there is lots of hope and room for improvement. We'll see that physically that we are enjoying places like the beaches and the company of our friends and family a bit more than we did before. We appreciate their presence. And I can say that from a business perspective, that we're seeing that this is the opportunity for innovation to really start kicking in and changing the scope of how you do what you do. As it relates to sustainability for your mind, body, and soul, gardening is definitely one of the things that I've heard everyone talk about, how it's easing on stress, how it helps them to focus, how it teaches them patience, and how it's a rewarding activity to get into because you get to eat the fruits of your labor. We're going to go to a break while we talk a little bit about Moscato. They're going to tell me, Doc is going to let me know if communion wine is good for me. And then we'll be right back. We'll see you when we come back from this break.
At Horizon Catering, we deliver the highest quality food, innovative presentations, and professional services. We know how important catering is to your event, so we cut no corners to ensure a satisfying and memorable event. We can turn your next event from the ordinary to the extraordinary. For the highest quality food, innovative presentations, and professional services, call Horizon Catering at 284-499-2132 or 499-2142. At Blossoms, our floral experts use their creative flair to design beautiful and exotic bouquets. We are the on-island wedding experts, and for boating enthusiasts, we can help you to add a touch of floral elegance, life, and color to your yacht, mega yacht, or super yacht. You can also find a wide variety of silk and dried flower designs, fresh cut flowers, local flowers, tropical blooms, fruit and gourmet baskets, chocolates, balloons, both helium and air-filled, various gift items, and an assortment of plush animals. With a floral experience spanning over 28 years, we have earned a reputation for excellence both locally and internationally. We've even worked with celebrities. At Blossoms, we continue to deliver smiles and watch our customers bloom.
Welcome back. So we're going to jump right into our hot topic. Bree?
Our hot topic today, I'm going to start with Kev. You're going to answer this first, right? Why do you think Caribbean people feel like they can tell us or they can ask us anything? For example, Kev, if you're married or if you're not married, they'll be like, when are you going to get married? Because you've been in a relationship a long time. Or if you're married, they're going to say, when are you going to have kids? If you do have a kid, they're going to say, when are you going to go for the next one? Or if they see you, like Kev, you get really fat. Like they just tell you. Why do you think Caribbean people are like that?
Oh, that's a good question. I think a lot of it could be because as Caribbean people, we grew up so close knit in families and we're like this big community. So I feel we're so comfortable with each other that we feel we can just voice our opinions because we've done it for so many years. And I don't think a lot of people think about like let's say like privacy or time is changing and stuff like that. Is because we grow just growing up. It's just you're one. Like let's say for example, when we were growing up, we couldn't walk home and not see an adult person and don't say good afternoon, good morning. And by the time you got home, it's already at home and you're getting a spanking for stuff like that. And it's
You're
because,
rude.
like I said, yeah, it's like we've always been so close. And I always see that like for us who went away to like colleges and stuff like that. When you get to a college, all like the island people always seem to flock together, no matter the country that you're from, and you have this big pride, like we're Caribbean people, because I think growing up we're embedded in this whole family culture of Caribbean people. So I think it's just that we just have this free will that we can say whatever we want to Tom and Harry, and we don't care, but we just speak our mind. Some people call us rude, but a lot of times we just speak our mind and say what we have to say on it, because that's just how their parents grew up, and they pass it all down to us, is what I would say.
I agree with that. Dr. Lewis, what do you have to add?
I kind of think that, again, speaking back to the fact that, we have such close-knit societies, I think a lot of times it comes from a place of concern. But, we're so accustomed to kind of just being very abrupt with one another that we may not have developed the social skill in terms of like being tactful about what the things that you say. Because if you're sitting down with your sisters or, your family, for example, Brie, and somebody just like says something in your immediate family, you really don't, you take like, okay, they care about me and this is why, they're saying. And I think that sort of sentiment, that culture has been embedded in us, that if somebody's your friend, you're going to say something. Because sometimes I go out and I see certain people dressed a certain way and I'm like, she don't have any friends. Like
Nobody told her.
Nobody told her. Somebody need to love this girl before she leave the house and say something to her, but yeah, it can get annoying when people just kind of like come out and like blurt out to you. But I always take it like they're saying it from a place of concern and like kind of wanting to see better for you. I have like that kind of positive mindset, so I'm not trying to look at it like somebody trying to tear you down. I think a lot of times it does come from a place of, okay, they see something that they might think is wrong, according to their moral compass and, whatever is, important to them. And they might just be saying it because they want to see better for you. And sometimes it's just not in line with what you see to be right and important. And so, you kind of get that conflict there. But I always try to put a positive spin on it that, they're just trying to look out for the better thing for you. I get that question all the time, but when am I going to have a girl? I have 2 boys. I don't need any girls. If I need a girl, I'm going to borrow somebody, one of these nieces that I got somewhere. I am not. Love my boys. Love my boys.
All right, Jesus, because I don't know how they think you can make a girl. I don't know.
I'm saying.
Ask him
My room apparently is for boys anyway.
Twice.
What do you think, Angel? Why do you think they tell us or ask us anything?
I have a little bit of a different take on it. I had a coworker recently who came to the office and she was completely upset because, someone said to her, she keeps her hair bald. And I think, I actually don't really know. But I believe it's attributed perhaps to some medical concern or something. So if you see her on good days, she has a wig, it looks natural. You don't know the difference. And then you see her and then it's clean head. And I think someone made a very derogatory Caribbean remark about, why you walking around with this man head? You need to have some hair on your head. You need to look like a girl. You could be such a pretty young lady. Why you walking around with this man head? And I get the sentiment of the person, just like Dr. Charlene is saying. You kind of know that there's some positive undertone to it, but our tack is has to be worked on. But my take about why we do that, especially as Caribbean people, because growing up in the USVI, you still had that. But when I lived in the States for all these number of years, you didn't have that. You really didn't have that level of milliness, nosiness coming to you. But I really think it goes back in the days, our families, our aunts, our moms, our cousins will lean over the fence. Hey, Charlotte gone to college. She's starting to be a doctor. Yes. No, you see Joey gaining a little weight. No. So what happened is the doctor said he yada yada yada. And oh no, you notice what she didn't gain small. She's not sick. She have a diet 10 things. So don't worry about it. And they told everything. They just talked all the business. So now a lot of the older folks feel like they have to ask. And unfortunately, the route isn't the most tactful route in asking, because the information isn't being willingly shared as it used to. We don't have that community culture that Kev was talking about that was ingrained to us before. So it has made things slightly different as we go forward. So now people are more, they feel like they have a right to. What happened to you, Lord? You're skinny, you're sick? What's going on?
Well,
Jesus.
The other thing too, I mean, even though we're not as close physically anymore, I think social media like kind of makes people feel like they're part of your life, because a lot of people put a lot of what's going on in their lives out there on social media. So I feel like people kind of take that as an invitation, like, oh well, you're letting me in, I'm part of your life, so I might as well be able to like reach out to you and comment because we Facebook friends, you know what I mean? But then there's something about having to develop that social tact that we're kind of lacking sometimes. So I think it goes back to our close-knit societies, but then again, like I said, you throw in social media, and it's just really just trying to navigate going forward how we're going to be able to manage all of this stuff without, and everybody's so super aware now of like being offensive and all these different harassments that can become a thing. So I think that that's pretty important too.
From experience, I've learned it's not good to call people fat, but again, it's not how you say it. Again, it's how you say it. Sorry,
it's how you say it. Yeah.
You can tell someone you're gaining weight. Is this something you want? Or if you notice they're really overboard, but just calling someone you get so fat, that offends a lot of persons. I know before I used to be skinny and I thought I was fat because it was like a mental thing. And when I look back, I was like, I was so small. Why I used to think I was fat compared to now? And also from experience, I don't think it's good to ever tell a woman or ask her when is she gonna have a baby, because you don't know what that woman is going through. I've learned of so many stories now with women who have tried to get pregnant and can't, with women who have gotten pregnant and lost the baby, miscarriages occur, and it's in silence. And whenever that question pops up, it brings something to that person. And I've experienced it. So it's like, it's not good to do. And I'm guilty of it because I've asked someone before, I was like, what are you waiting on? Like a simple comment like that. And we don't know what they're going through. So I would suggest, if we can, we need to try and make a change, because I'm a teacher and students are gonna question you based on what they see adults doing. And they ask, they tell you they're bold. Teacher, you getting fat, you pregnant? Teacher, it's like rude. It's very rude. And to them, it's okay. Yeah, you're like, what? Yeah, they do it. They actually do it. And I don't remember ever being that bold when I was going to school to ask a teacher something so personal. But I believe
you had stuff in the principal office.
Oh, I know, right? Straight to the office. But I feel the generation is changing, the habits, the norms, and I don't think it's okay to just say anything or ask anything. But if you're really close with the person, you can always have a conversation. It's just how you say it.
Yeah.
I think I want to disagree with something. I don't know if the generation is changing, because I want to believe that this ability to know information that's personal to you is a part of our culture. I would dare to say that it is a part of Caribbean culture, West Indian culture, that this is just who we are. We know Z, and that's just what it is. I ain't seen you in so long, and I want to know what happened. So you're married yet, Kev? Oh, yeah, baby? You're married again? What's going on? What happened in here? Lord Jesus. Well, I think it's just a part of Caribbean West Indian culture. But I would say what is changing is West Indians are adapting to other cultures. So now we're getting offended because that doesn't happen elsewhere. So why you feel the need to ask me? And yes, it does hurt our feelings. Go ahead, Kev.
No, that's exactly what it is. I think, before, like with our parents, grandparents, remember they didn't have the opportunities like we have now to travel and see other cultures and intermingle with other cultures. So now that we have the experience and we're traveling and we're seeing different things and social media and you're seeing how other countries handle certain situations, you're right. We're starting to adapt that way now, whereas in before they didn't have access to all those things and stuff like that. So it'd be like, even with the older folks, you still see it. They say, Brianna, it'd be, why your hair like that? Your mother gotta be rolling and your father, like, you know what I mean? Like, because that's what they grew up to. Whereas they know we have so much access to different cultures and stuff like that, and the way that different countries handle stuff, even down to like politics and different stuff. It's like, well, if the US is doing that, why we can't do that here? You know what I mean? So it's like you're so right in just seeing the different embedding of different stuff and just the like things just milking and getting together right now. So I think you're on that point that you made earlier.
With you and Angel, I think that's why it's good to have conversations like these, because you always get the other person's point of view, and it's like, yeah, you do have a point. And Kev, it's because back then they weren't exposed to as much as we do or as much as we see and so forth. So for us traveling, especially me, like how I lived abroad for a bit, I was able to see a difference in like nobody cared about you, nobody watched you, nobody said hello, everyone was just going about their business. But here we are more connected, we are smaller, and we care more for each other. So I guess it is a way of doing that.
And I have one more quick point on that. And it's so funny that you said that, right? I remember my first day in college, I'm like, I got into my dorm or whatever, went out, came back, and my roommate was there in the night. So I was like, hey, good night. And he looks at me funny. And like for a whole week, I'm like, good morning, good night. And one day he's like, why the hell do you keep telling me good night? Are you going to bed? Because in his world, they only say good night when they're going to sleep.
Or when they're leaving or something.
Yeah, when they're leaving, like from, that's like a normal greeting, just out of respect. I see you in the room. Hey, good night. Yo, how are you doing? And it blew my mind that, you grew up one way with this cultural way of thinking, and they grew up a totally different way. And it was just like, wow, that's weird.
Yeah. That's a really good example. That's a super good example of this, because seriously, the culture changed. But in our attempts to modernize our communities, we're finding that maybe there's some nuances of our cultural fabric that we are finding to be a bit more annoyance as opposed to a part of our culture. Because before, Auntie May gonna come and the first thing she gonna ask you, say, you're married yet? You knew it, you expected it, it wasn't offensive. You already knew these 4 aunts, this one uncle, you know what's gonna happen at the family gathering. Now we are so sensitive, which I hate. We're so sensitive now that we get offended when the question is asked, because we're starting to merge a bit too much. I think this is a good conversation. To our viewers, let's continue this conversation. Give us your point. I like this. This is a really good topic, Bree. Why do you think Caribbean people feel they could ask us whatever they want to ask us, no matter how offensive it may be? Give us your opinions. Give us your comments below. You can visit any of our social media pages, OAN Talk on Instagram. On another note, OAN Talk on Facebook. You can even go to our YouTube page, OAN Talk, and continue the conversation there with us. At this point, Dr. Lewis, talk to us about health. What do you got for us today?
All right. So in the news, we're seeing that St. Thomas is about to shut down, as we did in March, in response to what is happening with coronavirus over there. So let's talk about, why are things like shutdowns necessary? Why are all these protocols that we have in place necessary? So just going back to some of the basics. So coronavirus, as you guys well know, is a virus that passes from person to person, and the main mode of transmission is through droplets. And it's meaning that when the person sneezes, if a person talks and saliva comes out of their mouth, if they cough, then it's going to be expelled in those droplets. And then, if if the droplets come in touch with the next person, or if the next person comes into contact with contaminated surfaces, that's how it can spread. Now, some of the evidence that's coming out is that it's not necessarily airborne. There's been so much discussion about, if it's airborne, meaning that it's somebody just, it's just out floating in the air. And there's a lot of evidence to suggest that that's not necessarily the case, unless you're in a setting where you have a procedure being done, like nebulization, or you're intubating somebody who's really sick. Then you can get airborne particles, which is very different from it just being able to kind of drop in droplets. And I make this distinction because we have this super debate going on in a lot of places, maybe not necessarily here, but like in the US, for example, on wearing masks. So in the US, there's a big debate between the Democrats and the Republicans, or whatever. They're trying to really politicize it about the wearing of the mask. Now, the CDC, WHO, like everybody's come out and said that wearing masks universally can help to reduce transmission, both from you giving it out to the people who are around you, because the masks are going to give that blockage for the droplets from being able to pass. And also, they've started looking at evidence that even though the surgical mask and the cloth mask that we wear may not, coming into contact with the virus, because it blocks some of it out and you may still get some exposure, you may still get sick, but with the less amount that's coming in, it causes less of an infection. So there was a video that I watched recently. This doctor that I follow in the US, and he's somebody who has a lot of other professionals from the coming on to his show, and they were talking about something called the inoculum amount. So inoculum amount means how much of the virus you need to actually develop an infection. So when you have less of the virus coming into your body may actually be able to mount an immune response to it, so that you actually don't get as sick, as opposed to somebody like me who's a medical professional and might be around somebody who's being nebulized or somebody who's being intubated, and will get like a huge whiff of infection coming into my body. Then my body may not be able to fight that large dose that's coming in. And then you'd find in the States, they're having a lot of healthcare workers just, dropping down because of the amount of virus that we're exposed to. So, and I'm saying all this because I think not only in the BVI, but in a lot of other Caribbean countries, I think we've done amazing jobs with being able to keep our virus loads down. So we had the big thing the other day with what happened, in Jost Van Dyke, and they did all these tests and nobody came back positive. And I am so happy. I am so happy that we actually got to kind of prove what's kind of going on in our society. Does it mean that we have nobody that has coronavirus? To be quite honest, from a professional point of view, I don't think that's the case. I think we do have cases, but the great thing, and this is a great thing, guys, you have to see this as a positive. The great thing is that even if we have coronavirus floating around here, nobody is getting as sick. Nobody is dying. That what we are then doing is, with the small amounts that we're getting, and we may actually be getting people developing immunity against the disease. That's the important thing, because look, in the States, the president is pushing for a vaccine by election day. And like I said, this is just a lot of politicization of what's going on with health, but that tells you how important something like immunity from this disease can be. So if it is that we can reduce our exposure, so even if we come into contact with it, our bodies, which we are taking so much better care of now and we're making so much healthier, if we come into contact with it, that we're actually able to mount a response, and we don't have a bunch of people, having to go to Peebles Hospital. We don't have a bunch of deaths from coronavirus. I think that's going to be like a positive for us going forward. And the way that we would actually be able to prove that is when we have a reliable antibody test. Now, antibody test is different from what's available now, because what's available now is they actually check you to see if you have the virus. But we don't have enough accurate tests to tell us if you had the virus. And even looking at the way that your body is building immunity, what they're saying is that even the antibody test may not be that accurate, because the antibodies actually go out of your system in a quick period of time. But what might be happening is that your body's developing like cells that we're not necessarily able to test for. Cells that when you come into contact with it again, will be able to mount a quick response to the coronavirus. And all this is just going around to say that I think the measures that we have put in place and like we have really adopted in our society in terms of wearing masks, especially when you're around other people, washing your hands regularly, using the hand sanitizers. I think those things going forward, even when we open our borders, I think that's going to help us so much to be able to really come out on top of this coronavirus. I've spoken before about the fact that even our climate, our environment is not favorable for the coronavirus to grow. So even now you're seeing a lot more businesses opening up their windows. I just heard something on the news yesterday. They were talking about Fauci, their top medical person in the US. He actually opens his windows when he has other people in his vehicle with him, because it's been shown that having fresh air blowing through can actually kill the virus kill it in the environment, so that it's not able to pass on and transmit.
No, I think that's quite informative. I learned some things I didn't know before. So yeah.
Dr. Lewis, question.
Yes.
Of a virus that's so contagious as this one, right? Do you see a time frame with something like this, or is this something that we're just going to have to be dealing with for the rest of our life because of how highly contagious the virus is? Because I know we have like flu and all these different things that, I mean, obviously were a big thing when they came out, but now,
right, we don't hear about them. So H1N1 is still around.
Or you have the flu and it's like obviously nothing now.
Right.
Are we going to get to a place with this virus, with something like that? And then second, I would say, one of the things that amazed me with this virus, and it's so funny, and I think why we as Caribbean people have done so well is some of the procedures and things that they tell you to do with this virus, like wash your hand, do this. It's like growing up as a kid in the Caribbean, like these are things that your parents embedded in you,
right,
do growing up. So it's so funny when you see these other countries and they're like, you got to do this and you have to do this, and it's like, I've been doing
don't
this.
y'all do that already? Like we take off our outside clothes as soon as we get home, like we don't.
Just about to say that when you get home, don't sit down with your outside clothes.
Don't lie down on my bed with your outside clothes.
Put on your home clothes.
Exactly. And I think
because that's what we've been doing since we've been kids.
Yeah.
But I guess my question more so is is this something that you feel that we're gonna have to deal with for the rest of our life?
I think so. It's just like I said, it's just like the N1H1 flu and all these other flu viruses that have come about. The thing is that I think looking at the information coming in, the death rate with coronavirus is a bit higher than other flu viruses. And I think that really puts a lot of fear into people because, they see it almost like a death sentence. But then I've always said, you break down the information. And the people who are dying from coronavirus are the older people. And we still love our older people. So we still want to protect them and, do everything right by them. but it's really the older people and people with chronic diseases. And the reason for that is because the coronavirus, the receptors that it attaches itself to has a lot of connection with chronic diseases, especially something like hypertension. So it's very much, you have to look at it like it's not just everybody that gets it that dies. We have a lot, like I said, we have a lot of healthcare people that get sick, that dying from it, but I've explained to you the exposure that they're having that's very different from the lay person. And then looking at the lay people, when you look at the stratification according to age, it really is people who are like over the age of like 80 that are dying from this. So in older populations, like in Italy, you looked at their death rates and it looked astronomical because they actually had a much higher older population, like rate, like level of older population than other countries. Now, what might be going on in the US is just as Kev says, we culturally, they don't have a lot of these things in place. And even though they would be getting the same information that we do, and whereas we adapt it, because and again, this goes back to our community spirit, where it's not just about you, it's about everybody. When you do things like you wear masks, when you wash your hands, it's not just about you, it's looking out for everybody around you. So in the US, they're very individualistic, as you guys who kind of live there would kind of imagine. I've never lived in the US, I've visited. So I understand what you're saying, but they're very much about like, freedom of choice, freedom to do what they want. And so even though they're getting all this information, if that doesn't resonate with them internally and morally, they're human, they're not going to do it. But in the Caribbean, I think it's embedded in us that we do we do what is right and we do the right thing. And I look around and I'm very thankful that we have adopted this kind of behavior. We've made it into fashion trends, the whole thing about wearing the mask. I know people who have masks to match every outfit now, so yeah, you just kind of like, I think going forward, not only do we take advantage of our environment, which is not favorable for the virus, but also if we keep doing the practices that we know, that we have studies that prove that it actually helps to mitigate the spread, I think going forward, that's the best thing that we can do for ourselves.
And Dr. Lewis, based on what you're saying, I understand. And in terms of the mask, I read something a few weeks ago on an article. I can't remember if it was local or it was somewhere abroad. And they were talking about the face shields. They were saying that they're not as, what's the word? They're not as protective as wearing the mask in some places, and some places are banning them. I don't know what's your take on that, just quickly before we wrap up.
Okay, so again, the face masks are a lot more direct over the area where the virus is going to be coming from. So it's two things. If you're somebody who has the virus and you have on a face shield, yes, you might be blocking it from going directly forward, but remember, it's still dropping underneath, underneath that face shield. And even if you know you don't have the virus and you're wearing a face shield and you're trying to get that protection from, there's still a lot of space around that face shield. Face shields, even when I was dealing with doing like testing, because that was one of the things I was doing when I was working during lockdown. Even when I was doing a thing like testing, like the more important thing for you to have on would have been like your full cover, your mask. And we had goggles. And on top of that, last thing you put on is a face shield. So if the face shield, I mean, it might be a great fashion trend or whatever the case is, your full face visor, you make it in different colors. But in terms of actual protection, not necessarily as good as everybody wearing the face masks.
Thank you for that. All right.
I think this was a really good episode, guys. Everything from the positives of COVID-19 to how we're all adapting to the changes because of COVID-19, talking a little bit about how our Caribbean culture and the way our people have customarily done things has also kind of attributed to the fact that we have less cases as it relates to COVID-19 because we're so community minded. We do things for everyone, not just for us. And then just ending with understanding a little bit more about how the virus is mutating and what that could potentially mean for us. So no different from HIV, which the whole world had to adapt to, no different from chickenpox, which we've all had to adapt to, the measles. It's no different from that. It just becomes another one of those check boxes that you'll have on your medical form when we go see Dr. Lewis for our annual checkups.
Exactly.
So we just want to thank you for joining us on another note. We hope that you did enjoy this episode. Stay tuned. This is season 6, guys, and we're so happy to have you supporting us. We hope to be able to get back together soon and do our episodes in person. We haven't really seen each other. So it's really been a different world, but we hope that you've been enjoying these webisodes, and we can't wait to see you next time. I'm gonna go water my rosemary plant, try to keep this one alive, and I'll see you guys next week on another note. Bye, guys.